Good evening, everybody. This is Norm Potter here from Structured Creativity Consulting, and this is Educational Norm. I see we do have somebody watching us tonight, which is awesome. It doesn't happen very often, so welcome. If you want to put in the chat who you are, that'd be great so I know who I'm talking to. Otherwise, this is Nick Zuber. He is, again, one of my favorite artists here in the local area. And if you get a chance to check out his music on YouTube, I'm sure he'll greatly appreciate that. So tonight, before we get started on the educational pieces, as I said, I am part of Structured Creativity Consulting. And before we get started tonight, I had the day spent with my nephew who just lost his house in a house fire. And it was obviously not a very good situation, but everybody made it out safe. But I want to comment on the positive things that happened today because there were so many people that did not know the family that just came out and volunteered. The Mentors Community Center came out, um, sent out the call, and pickup trucks were coming to help haul things to a safer location. Um, we had a gentleman there that was in his third round of cancer treatment, was actually going through chemo as we were speaking, and he's out there helping. Uh, Numerous people coming up volunteering time and gift cards and food, and it was truly amazing. And we often hear of the negative things that are going on in the world, but it was truly a very positive situation that happened today with all the people in the Mentor, Ohio community. And I can't thank everybody enough for coming out and helping and supporting my nephew. And there'll be more for that later. So thanks. And he's getting there and getting back on the feet. But like I said, the main part is that everybody made it out safe and everybody's well. So getting into horrible segue, getting into the educational talk tonight. Tonight, we're talking about stripped down teaching professional development. And one of the things that I have found in this day and age is that a lot of times we rely so much on technology, we forget about the basics of teaching in general. And one of the things that I have found and realized is that the teachers that are coming out of college right now, they were born 1998, 1999, 2000. They've always known some of the better aspects of technology that have come out. The internet is the thing that they grew up with and used in school. And those types of things that, they take for granted are the things that when I grew up, if we wanted to do any research, we had to have encyclopedias and, those things that took time to really figure out what we needed to talk about. And because of that, the form of education really has changed because what would take us sometimes hours to figure out, they can find in just a quick Google search. So the actual knowledge is out there. It's how to apply that knowledge. And with that information, teaching becomes different. But I want to make sure that we don't lose sight of what teaching really is. And with this age of technology, something I brought up to a school that I was working with yesterday down in the Canton, Ohio area, Louisville, Ohio, to be specific. Um, it's a private school down there. And as I'm doing this training or introducing some of the things that we wanted to do with that school, somebody came up and said, "Hey, did you go to Adrian College?" And come to find out, we were at Adrian College at the same time, and which is a strange thing because at that time there was only about 1,000 people on campus at any one time, and uh, it's up in southeast Michigan, and here we are in Canton, Ohio, which is probably a good 3.5 hours, 4 hours away, and I run into a fellow Bulldog, so that was always fun. But when we got into talking about technology, and that's why I was there, is how to integrate technology effectively into the classroom, we found that it's very important to remember what teaching is and how to actually teach students with limited supplies and resources. So this stripped down teaching model came about when I was working in Twinsburg, and we tried it with a few teachers there. And I recently tried it with some of my third year middle school teaching candidates at Kent State. And it really was amazing what people are able to come up with when they are forced to think differently than what they currently are. And so well, the idea is this. You have to imagine that you are in a room with 25 students. There are four bare walls, and you have 25 kids and 25 chairs and you. And you have to teach this class of 25 students for the next 45 to 50 minutes, depending on what your class periods are, some concept that you're pretty comfortable with, but you have no resources. It's just you, the kids, and the chairs, and that's it. And I usually give all the teachers about 20 minutes to figure out what standards they're going to teach, at what level they're going to teach those, and then the process in which they're going to teach them. Um, because now, with all the technology and with all the resources available at a fingertip, we sometimes take advantage of those to the point where we lose sight of what good teaching really is. And so, with that 25 or the 20 minutes that we give the teachers to go over those things, they start coming up with ideas of how to actually reach kids in that kind of situation where it's more of a discussion, more of interaction, possibly more movement, more structure in the classroom because there has to be. And by the end of that, they all come out feeling like they have been able to create a brand new lesson with the same standard that they've taught one way for many, many years because of the technology, that they're able to do it a very different way. And I think this becomes more important as we get into this technology age, that we keep in mind the basics of the teaching, the interaction, the relationships, the pieces that are out there that we sometimes forget have to be brought back in on a more consistent basis. And how does that translate into the technological world? So we do that lesson, that professional development for the 20 minutes of planning. And then each group basically presents how the plan would go, what they would do. And, I've heard everything from, we would use our bodies to do some movement. We would use the chairs to create forms. We would do, whatever it may be. And so when we start seeing those ideas, which are really well thought out and I think pretty effective teaching methods, then we start asking what would be the first thing that you would bring back into this lesson to enhance the lesson and improve it to that next level. And whatever that technology is, it's one thing. So if you bring in the computer, you can't bring internet. You can have one or the other. If you bring in a book, that's all you get. If you bring in paper, that's all you get. I was lenient with the college students because they are new and they have never taught a lot of these things. It's still theory in their mind. So they asked for a whiteboard with markers, even though that's two things, we gave that to them. So you can modify it however you want. And when we do that, we would ask the next obvious question, well, what will that one item do that enhances it so much that you have to bring it in? And if there's a legitimate reason to bring that in to enhance the lesson, you keep it. And because you keep it, then you have a better lesson. Then we say, okay, so if it's effective now, is there another piece of technology or material or resources that you could bring in that would help even more? And so they could bring in a second one. And we keep working more and more of these into the actual teaching. And what we found is that at some point, the teachers begin to realize that a lot of the other stuff that they may have brought in the past is simply just more, I hate to use this word because I don't like it, but more fluff. It creates this image of fun and creativity when it really isn't necessary because the kids are already engaged. The kids are learning to the point where these other things aren't needed. And that extra thing that becomes a saturation point of what you need to bring into the classroom is now determined by the teacher based on how effective those pieces are in the lesson. When we get done and we have those discussions, a lot of the teachers will say, I forgot or I didn't realize how much of this other stuff really isn't needed to reach kids. I think the most important piece of any teaching is the relationship you have with your students. So if you're hiding your lesson in a technology unit, then it's harder to make that relationship with that student. But if it's just you and the kids, you really have no option. You have to create some type of relationship to move everything forward. So that's the idea of stripped down teaching, starting with absolutely nothing and building in one thing at a time and determining where that point is that you do not need to add anything else to make this lesson effective, engaging, and fun for the kids. So that's the idea of the stripped down teaching model. Now, if you're interested in that, I'm more than happy to come out to your school for a price to figure out exactly how that would work for you. And it really is a fun exercise, and it's basically a challenge. I would love to see several teachers send me video of them doing the stripped down model where it's just them and the kids and see what they come up with. So if you do have that, I'd love to see your results. So that's our time tonight. Again, I want to thank everybody out at Mentor today for all the work they've done. And as always, be kind, be professional, and find solutions and try this stripped down teaching. I'll see you next week with another new topic from Structure, Creativity, and Educational Norm. Have a good night. Have a great Thanksgiving. Good night.